For my scene analysis, I picked The Departed by Martin Scorsese, which is one of my favorite movies, but after watching it again, I realized the plot is kind of bananas to explain, but I'm gonna do my best. So, The Departed is basically a story of two undercover police officers in Boston, Massachusetts. Leonardo DiCaprio plays Billy Costigan, an aspiring state police officer who, because of his family's history of crime, is undercover to infiltrate the ranks of crime boss Frank Costello. Matt Damon plays Colin Sullivan, who is primed by Costello at a young age to be his own mole in the state police. Captain Queenan and Staff Sergeant Dignam, who man the undercover unit in the state police, have Costigan arrested and given probation to make it more believable that he's no longer a cop. Meanwhile, Sullivan quickly rises through the ranks with the state police and is assigned to the Special Investigations Unit that's trying to bring down Frank Costello. Through connections with his cousin, Costigan starts becoming a trusted member of Frank Costello's crew, but after being undercover a while and seeing what Costello is capable of, he begins to worry about getting found out. He vents to his therapist that he was assigned for probation, named Madeline, who also happens to be the same woman that Colin Sullivan has recently started dating. During a business meeting between Costello and a Chinese gang that the police are staking out, both Sullivan and Costigan are feeding information to their people, Costigan to Captain Queenan, and Sullivan to Frank Costello. After the meeting ends, it's revealed their cameras were set up in the wrong position, so the police don't end up catching either cruise. However, this meeting does let both parties know that there's a rat in their ranks. This begins a mutual cat and mouse chase between Costigan and Sullivan. Costigan is under increased pressure now because Frank thinks he's the rat. Around this time, Costigan also discovers that Frank is an FBI informant and lets Queenan know. Costigan eventually takes matters into his own hands to catch the mole in the SIU by following Costello to meet up with him. He tails Sullivan from a meet with Costello and nearly reveals his identity before Sullivan gets away. Similarly, Sullivan, who has been put in charge of finding the rat in the SIU, has Captain Queenan tailed in order to find him meeting with his undercover guy. When Costigan meets with Queenan on a rooftop, Sullivan tips off Frank's crew. Queenan's forced to distract them while Costigan gets away. That was a little early. This results in Frank's men throwing Queenan off the roof to his death. The officers following Queenan open fire on Costello's crew, and one of their men is shot, dying before he can reveal that Costigan is a snitch. Dignam gets upset at news of Queenan's death and attacks Sullivan, resulting in Dignam being dismissed, leaving Costigan all on his own. After learning that Sullivan is an FBI informant from Queenan's notes, Sullivan uses Costigan to set up Frank and his crew. The police kill Costello's men in a shootout, and Sullivan confronts Frank and kills him. When Costigan and Sullivan meet at state police headquarters, Costigan then discovers that Sullivan was Costello's inside man and leaves, causing Sullivan to delete Costigan's police file. Costigan later sends Sullivan some incriminating tapes of a phone call he had with Frank. Madeline intercepts the tapes before Sullivan can and listens to them, causing her to leave him. Sullivan calls Costigan, who tells him to meet where Queenan was killed. When Sullivan arrives on the rooftop, Costigan arrests him. Before they can leave, they get stopped by Trooper Brown, who is one of the cadets in the police academy with Costigan and who currently works with Sullivan. Costigan manages to reach the elevator with Sullivan in cuffs, but as the doors open, he's shot by Trooper Berrigan, who turns out to be a second rat in the SIU for Costello. Berrigan then turns on Trooper Brown, shooting him in the head, and then Sullivan later shoots Trooper Berrigan to secure that the truth never gets out. Sullivan makes up his story, and at Costigan's funeral tries to talk with Madeline, who blows him off. Returning home with groceries one day, Sullivan finds Sergeant Dignam in his house, who proceeds to shoot Sullivan in the head before walking out. On to the subplots. The first subplot is about Billy's family connections. Though his mother and uncle are only mentioned a few times throughout the movie, they provide some insight into why Billy aspires to become a cop. His uncle was a big name in the Irish mob, and though his status earned him respect among the members of Costello's crew, he ended up dead in a ditch by the airport. Dignam brings this up to Costigan when he mentions the closed casket at his funeral, which makes Billy noticeably upset. Early in the film, there's also an interaction between Billy's other uncle and him at the hospital before his mother died. He accused Billy of joining the state police to prove himself to the family, whose name is tainted by the legacy of his Uncle Jackie. The next subplot is Madeline. She's a pretty big one on her own. She ties into subplots for both the main characters, though her relationship with both Sullivan and Costigan, through her relationship with both Sullivan and Costigan, much more information about their characters are revealed. In one interaction, Sullivan refused to let her display a goofy picture of her as a kid because he's so caught up with his image and the success that he has now compared to his humble upbringing. However, when Billy saw the same picture later, he admired it and hung it up higher, embracing that part of her past. Another subplot, one that didn't really go anywhere, was the microprocessors. They were made out to be a big deal early in the film. A piece of technology that Costello stole and sold to the Chinese. And after the botched operation with the cameras, they botched the operation with the cameras, though, and lost the microprocessors, they aren't mentioned again. So they were essentially just a device to ramp up the urgency to find the two rats in the state police and Costello's crew. And then the last subplot is Madeline's baby. At the end of the movie, it's revealed that she's pregnant, although the real father's never revealed, although it's heavily hinted that the baby belongs to Billy.